Good morning or afternoon if you're on the other side of the world. Welcome to, what is this called? Dialed In Podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I almost called it Inside the Hex. No, you didn't pay for that one, so pay for it now. Anyway, what's going on, people? It's Thursday. We're on schedule, although next week I'll be out of town. And I'm sure I'm gonna rant about some stuff. I'm in rare form here today. Got myself my very first version of like what a regular people cup looks like, and I took the sippy cup top off of it though, and that means I'm gonna spill it all over the place.
I got you covered.
But yeah, what do we got going on? Just did my baller intake yesterday. I got to go drive it next. That was pretty cool. I was up editing till. It's freaking stupid. I forgot about the 4K thing, Bryce. It's 6 minutes. I did all the work, exported the darn thing, uploaded it, and it just sits there at 0% processing. Like, oh, gosh. And then finally it jumps from 0 to 95, and that's when you know when it jumps from 0 to 95 that, like, it's never going to leave 360p. And so I had to delete that, because it took 2 hours to get this thing rendered and uploaded, and I deleted that, exported in 1080p, and then redid it. So,
I haven't had that problem.
Yeah, well, apparently I do. So anyway, the intake video's up. That thing is so sick. It'll last a little while until I get a supercharger or a new car. Who knows?
Yeah, let's see. Since you mentioned that, I want to go to a question here from Bry Grove on Instagram. What are your first impressions of the Carbon Plenum? Is that what it's called? Is that Plenum?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's going to do. I love the guys at I&D and Eventuri, but it's going to do nothing. So
it's purely aesthetic.
Yeah. So I mean, maybe a 2 horsepower. I mean, it's. From what I can tell, and maybe I didn't do any wind tunnel testing in my garage here, but from what I can tell, it's basically a replica of the OE box, which is already so great. So I don't think that it's going to do anything other than look super cool. But I'm okay with that. I mean, I freaking bought it, so I'm okay with that. And actually, it's less money than I thought. I mean, the whole the cover and the plenum was like $2,700, and then I think the intake part was another $600 or $700. It was like $3,500 or less for a full carbon thing. It was pretty neat.
All right, I want to get to let's see. I want to go to the chat here. See who's here this morning. Dan, who stopped here before from Minnesota. He's one of the newest Hex Plus members. So do you want to talk about that? Give a commercial real quick about the Hex Plus.
I'm really pumped about it. I mean, it's going to take a little while to get it so that it's populated with lots of stuff. And we're doing a couple of a podcast or a video podcast and a video every week. And the intent there, like I had some friends come up from Orlando that hadn't been up. I've been up here 3 years, but they hadn't been up to see where I live and see OG and all of that stuff. And so, some of my best friends in the world, and they came up, and I asked Bryce to, come over and hang out and just grab the camera for, an hour or so. And so he followed us around, and we just got this amazing video of me just, sharing the story of the house and what we changed and what we made. And that's the kind of stuff that people that aren't in the know would think of it as kind of showing off or bragging. I'm just showing my friends, what I've been doing the last 3 years, and kind of talking through stuff, and so that's what I intend the membership thing to be, is to be those extra things. I also asked them to sit down and record a podcast, and it was more basically a Mormon roast of me, just me, the 20-year-old version of me, which I'm sure some of you get glimpses of that in the 39-year-old version of me. But yeah, it's kind of rounding out. One thing I don't think I'll do a lot of is like a blog post. I did a couple of them. I don't know. My heart's not in that. I don't know that it has as much value. The real value, I think, is in the business talk, the life talk, both in video and then podcast type format. The hope is to where it gets big enough and useful enough where we could make an app so people could watch and listen to the stuff on the go. I think we have like 300 members or something now, and so if we get in the thousands, then it would justify investing in an app and then making it something significant. I'm also the first investment is going to be in somebody to follow me around with the camera all day, so we can do more than just a video a week up there. But once again, for those of you who aren't interested in that and and want to continue to follow me on YouTube and things like that, I'm not changing anything on YouTube. It's not going to take away. It's just an additive thing. Something I've been planning for a long, long time, and we finally have it up and running.
Let's see. I have a suggestion here. I think Bryce has probably already read it, but it's worth you hearing as well. From Luke. I'm a Hex member. My only comment is it would be nice if we get notified of new content. Ideally, it would be to have it in my podcast app, but an email would be okay too. So,
yeah. Until we have our own app, then we can't do it on that sort of thing. I don't know. We're working on it, but yeah, I agree. Just know that stuff is going to be up there, so check it often.
And once a week or so is the goal.
For now, yeah, and then we'll add more and more as time goes on. But I need the infrastructure. We need the staff. So you guys are working on that interview process now of people. How's that going?
It's going well. Bryce and I interviewed a total of, I think, 7 people. We narrowed it down from about 105 to 12.
Mm-hmm.
Then I sent out invitations to those 12 people, contacted them, hey, schedule an interview.
Mm-hmm.
8 of them scheduled an interview. 7 of them showed up to the interview. That was done via Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've narrowed it down to 4 here that Bryce is going to get with you about and move forward from there. And so we're going to contact him today to let him know either way, but he wanted to speak with you first.
Yeah, I mean, so this is something that I'm pretty proud of, in that I have a business coach, and then I bring you, Bryce, and my dad, who are the heads of state at OG here. Even though it's a little goofy in that there aren't a lot of us, you're not like managing an arsenal of people. You're in some cases you're just managing like Bryce is managing himself, but the intent is to get to the point to where we have department heads that run sections of the business. And so one of the things we talked about in our last coaching meeting was interviewing and how and what to say and what to ask and how to conduct something like that, because that generally isn't an innate skill. It's a learned thing. It's a learned trait, or you learn how to get the person to tell on themselves without them, because if you just ask them, what do
are you a team player?
Yeah, tell me how good you are, and they say I'm great. What else are they going to say? So the key is getting them talking about because we're not looking for perfection. We're looking for somebody who's really going to enjoy what they do, but we're looking for their actual personality to see if to make an assessment if they can fit. And so part of this exercise, the simple thing would have been to just have me just call them all and interview them, because I'm going to make the decision anyway. But what I wanted you and Bryce to do was to go through this process of practicing interviewing others, because at some point, hopefully, the business will get to the point to where we talked about this in our meeting. Like, I just show up and I'm like, see, who is that person? Who is that person that's over there? Oh, hey, I'm Matt. How you? Nice to meet you, kind of thing. We could all aspire to get to that point, to where we have department heads where you guys are able to kind of make those decisions based on the viability for the business, and I don't have to be in every one of those decisions. But there's only one way to do that. It's through coaching and learning and practicing, and so we're at such an advantage there because of the coaching that we have, and it gives us such a leg up over other people that are going at it alone.
And it gave us some good experience because we used Facebook basically to post the job.
Mm-hmm.
Some folks heard about it from others, so they emailed outside of Facebook. But I think we had 93 applications come in via Facebook alone.
Yeah, and that's a test to see what's the power of the reach and are we able to find like-minded people that'll fit in the culture here? And there's a good chance we'll hire somebody who doesn't fit. A lot of that's going to be on them to come in and fit. But eventually, after 90 days or so, you've settled into who you actually are, and so we're hoping to, via posting what the job is, then through interviewing and getting to know them, and then explaining what the expectation is, that we'll end up with somebody who just loves it, and it's not work. It's what you want to do. The last thing you want to do is get somebody in here who just doesn't want it. They don't want it. They're just doing it for a job. Or they're coming in here because they want to be me. And trust me, you don't want to be me. So
we don't need another you around here,
we definitely don't need that. Yeah.
I want to get to a couple quick questions here that came in. Let's see. I want to go to Luke on Instagram. How does CSL/XO work on a black textured trim?
It works great. I don't think you really need to even put the XO on it, because CSL will last a long, long time, but I think it works better than pretty much any other option. I'm actually going to discontinue Wolf's Trim Coat. It's still not bad to have Trim Coat in your cabinet, because you don't want to open up a bottle of CSL, but you wanted to coat something. But I'm going to discontinue carrying that. We only have a few bottles left. Because the CSL lasts a lot longer and actually looks a little richer, a little flatter. So I've kind of transitioned to just using the flagship coating on everything, instead of using a wheel coating for wheels and trim coating for trim. I found that the flagship paint coating works best on everything except for the glass. I don't think you want to put it on the glass, but in general, you're better off using the flagship coating on all surfaces that you can.
Nick from Instagram asks, can you use CarPro Pearl diluted in the engine bay the same way that you use Meguiar's hyperdressing?
No, you'd have to wipe it clean. It just, for whatever reason, hyperdressing has this ability to just spray it on, wipe away, or walk away. I also find that hyperdressing lasts a lot longer than Pearl does, especially when exposed to any kind of water or anything like that. So no, I don't think so. It certainly does the same thing. It has the same look, but you got to wipe it in, and then you got to apply it all the time. Whereas hyperdressing has this unique ability to just dilute it, spray it on, walk away, and just the little extra water pools, just wipe those up 2 or 3 days later.
So we mentioned here at the beginning, the most recent video is the M3 modifications. The one that came out before that was about testing pH levels, which I saw a lot of discussion there about that. So do you want to speak about your experience?
Yeah, I was really surprised. I mean, I thought I could just walk in there, stick the meter in there, and I knew I'd have to have a buffer solution. I mean, I've taken advanced Chemistry 1, Chemistry 2, Chemistry 3, and as an engineer, also chemistry in high school, and I've always taken AP chemistry and stuff. So relatively sophisticated chemistry. Now I haven't taken like organic chem and some of the things you would if you were pre-med or like a biology major or something like that, or a chemistry major or a chemical engineer. But I have taken some higher level courses, so I've done lots of pH testing and titrating and stuff like that in chem lab. But it's been 25 years, and so I was thinking I could just buy a pH meter and just stick it in there, and everything will be good. But the clunky part of it is that it's the better the meter, the more sensitive it is, and you're sort of having to reset it and dip it back in the buffer solution, and then I'm getting these readings that just don't make sense. I thought it would make a little bit more sense than it did. But the lesson learned from it is that it's the same thing with the exercise with pressure washers. We end up making these assumptions based on specifications, but in the real world, what is the result? So the specs tell a story, but first of all, how accurate are those specs? Under what conditions are they obtaining those specifications? And then what does it look like in the real world? You see it with amplifiers, with TVs, with cars. Some cars are overrated, some cars are underrated. You see it with all types of things where detail types, numbers type tend to get really hung up And I've gotten better and better at it over the years, especially with my understanding of home theater and being somewhat of an expert in selling those in the past. From your amplifier wattage days, the cheaper the amp, the higher the output rating, which is on the moon in a vacuum with a half an ohm speaker that doesn't exist, is how you're getting 200 watts. Whereas the $40,000 amplifier is rated at 20 watts per channel. So I've learned that early on, that specs don't tell the whole story. But pH is one of those things that was kind of bugging me a little bit. I was curious about it, especially with hyperwash, because I haven't experienced any kind of stripping. And so I called and talked to Marcus at McGuire's, and he said, yeah, in the lab it's rated at current concentration, it's rated at a pH of 9. I'm like, well, shoot. Then that got me really bothered. I'm like, well, I don't want to be washing a car. I want a pH neutral soap. I don't want to be stripping stuff, but I hadn't noticed any stripping. So I had assumed that I've been talking. Even the video I was watching back, the tour, I was showing people my decon soap, and I was showing Mark, Melissa, and Charles, and I said, yeah, this has a pH of 10 or 11, when it actually has a pH of 8.4. But yet I noticed stripping from that. And so I was almost ready to go punt all of my decon soap in the trash just off that initial test. I'm like, oh, shoot, I got this stuff. It's junk. It's bullcrap. But then I started thinking, I'm like, oh, no, but I've observed this removing wax and sealant. That's why I like it. That's why I use it. And so then I started thinking, well, is that just soap residue? Like, no, I've tested that before. And so anyway, I don't have any definitive information from this, but and there's, I'm obsessed to a point. I mean, if I was really obsessed, I would probably bring a chemist in and really start to dig into it and get really, really accurate results. Like I was using plastic cups, wasn't using triple washed beakers, and I was using distilled water, not deionized water. And so anyway, it was an interesting, quick little experiment that was supposed to take me 15 minutes. It took me, a day and a half of, going and buying more distilled water, because the distilled water I had was reading really alkaline. And so anyway, it was kind of cool to see. And at the end of it created no definitive information outside of specs, again, don't tell the whole story.
So speaking of specs, I'm glad you mentioned that. There have been some pictures posted about Stanley pressure washers, and we're getting more and more pressure washers in. So you want to talk about what's next in the pressure washer testing there?
Yeah, so I bought Stanley, which was a huge mistake because it's a freaking AR. So it's the same stupid thing as AR. I didn't know. You don't know until you get it. And you open them, I'm like, these look a lot like AR. And then I look on the side of the box, and it's a source from AR North America. Same thing with Craftsman's. They're the same thing with a different color, maybe a different bezel on the front. I ordered the Adams pressure washer and the Realm pressure washer, which is what the Adams is based off of. So I ordered those two. That was through, everybody said, you need to get one. I'd already ordered it prior to anybody even saying anything. All of these pressure washers are junk. The question is which is the least junk, and I keep coming back to the only bespoke version, which would be the Karchers. For $130, I don't think it makes sense, based on all my testing, to spend $250 on some junk pressure washer. So the Karcher has a 3-year warranty, no question to ask. They're making their own pumps in some Chinese factory. They're the only pump that looks any different. All these other companies, the pumps all look the same. The Ryobis and the Greenworks look pretty much the same. And then you have all of the others, the Sunjos, the ARs, the whatever private labels are all, we're going to tear apart the Adams to see what the pump looks like. But I suspect it's some derivation of the SPX 3000. Now the SPX 3000 isn't the reference, it's just the most popular version because they marketed the junk Chinese pump the best. So I bought those. I asked you to start tracking down the professional Karcher. Now that we've created some noise with Karcher, they'll listen to me, I think. We've sold hundreds and hundreds of these, of the K1700. And so I think I have their attention, so now I can get them to start listening to me, I like to test their professional line of pressure washers, which, there's the Krenzle's great, but I just want to know. I want to have the data. I bought the AR630 TSS. It's funny, and I get this. I get why, because I tend to be a contrarian as well. I don't know why anyone would have a need to buy an AR630. I've already told you what to buy. It's the Krenzle. And then the Comet is $100-$200 less than the AR. And the AR is an Italian, kind of wonky, just like the Comet's kind of wonky. The Comet is just good enough to make the cut for me, and I've almost kind of ditched them because they don't know how to ship the darn thing. How many we've broken? 20, 30, of the 100 that we've sent out, and of the 20 of them have broken. So we've had to replace. And now the Comet or Valley Industries in the U.S. that imports them has stepped up and kind of fixed them. But it's annoying. I mean, you get excited, you buy your $600 pressure washer, we package and repackage them, and then we package them again, and they show up broken because there's some janky parts on them that are easily broken, and then they don't know how to pack them. But we dealt with that with Krenzle's. When you're shipping a 50-pound unit, and you're shipping it regular ground, it becomes problematic. But I did buy an AR630 TSS, so people think that I'm being stubborn by not buying it. I know what it is. It's Italian. It's janky, at best. And so it's probably going to do okay. But I just don't have an interest in it. Maybe it'll supplant the Comet. The beauty of the Comet is it's so easy to mount without extra expense. You just drill some holes in the wall and you're good to go. But even that, again, the pump is it's not a Krenzle. So it's like the Comet is like it's not even as good as a Honda because it's not as well engineered. But it's like an Alfa Romeo, which is a good car in design, but then kind of suffers a little bit in delivery. So I struggle a little bit with that because it's not German engineered, super high end, super high quality. And the AR is in that same category. It's Italian made, kind of good, but not quite good. And it's $700. So why don't you spend the extra couple hundred? Or it's $800 depending on where you get it. So why not just buy the darn Krenzle? Wait another week or month, save up your pennies, and buy the quality. And I'll show you them. One's kind of plastic. You can even see it just looking at the pump head. It's kind of Italian jank. So I'm telling you that, and I might still sell it. The question is it just everything I do is janky when I do an install. So the question is, I want to push it slightly past jank and into decent, into somewhat excellent. So can it be excellent enough to meet the cut? I don't know. Probably not, but we'll see.
All right, here I want to go to a question in the chat from Spencer. What would you recommend for a small air compressor? Something like a pancake one just to blow out interiors and air up tires.
Yeah, I have an Ingersoll Rand. It's like the little double tank one with the handle. I think it's like $300. I like that one a lot. So that's the one I have. I don't think Jenny makes one. I might try to get them to make one at some point. They can make anything. But yeah, I would do an Ingersoll Rand. I forget which model mine is, but there's only one of them. It has like the two little tanks on the back and the handle in the middle. And on the front, what you do is you take off the crappy couplers and you put some Prevost couplers on it and get yourself a 35-foot Stowflex Prevost hose with a swiveling coupler on the end of it, and you're moving. So for $500, you got something really, really legit that you can do. Anything you need to do outside of using impacts and air polish or pneumatic polishers.
Scott wants to know, or his comment first is, Hyperwash looks great, but what I love about Adams is how safe it is in direct sunlight. I know it's not really a factor for you, especially if your cars are indoors, but it likely is for many of us. Do you know how safe it is?
That's what I wonder, because I was registering a pH of 8 when it was diluted. How does it do if it dries in the sun? Whereas Adams was very clearly targeted to be a neutral soap. And so that's what I don't know. That I should probably just back the car out and try and see if it leaves all kinds of residue left over if it kind of dries in the sun. Another thing to do, which I'm sure people will tell me, is because when I start talking about this kind of stuff, then people try to, the early adopters go jump the gun and try to, see either prove me right or wrong. And so this is a soap that's been around for I don't know how long, but a long time, that nobody's talked about, that I'm sure 3 people have used before, and then one of those 3 have been using it, and they say, "See, I told you so." I'm hoping that they'll chime in and kind of give us that info, because I don't know, and you're going to be hard pressed for me to back the car out in the sun. so
The Camry's always available for
yeah.
experimentation. Will you have, this is from Hunt Stevenson in the chat, will you have an air package similar to the Karcher 1700? I have a pancake compressor from the big box store. What couplers/hose attachment should I buy? I think you kind of touched on that.
Yeah, I'm working toward that. Again, there's so many improvements, so many things we can do. What I would like to have, and I'm probably going to reach out to California Air Tools, or what is it? California something. Yeah, California Air Tools. I need to buy a couple of those and try them, but I'm pretty sure that's a compressor I'd like to have, and then have packages for that, and then packages for just kind of the generic compressors that are common, and say here's a hose, here's the couplers, here's the tools. So that's a little further down the road, but yeah, I mean I want to have tools, blow tools, all that stuff all worked out as well to have that available. So that I'm headed towards that, but I need to get. I have a hard time not executing. So the pressure washing project is not done, so I want to finish that, and then focus on whatever the next thing is. So when I tell people I have 30% of the things that are in my head that I know of today up in the store, I really mean that. There's a lot of different cool things that I can make that I know people would want.
Speaking of in the store, we have a few new products. Bryce just added them yesterday, actually. And I bring this up because we had someone ask when those shirts are going to be out, the new shirts, not the 1M giveaway shirts, but the other shirts. So those are still in the works.
Yeah. Get moving, Bryce. Stop screwing around.
We need a good model.
Yeah.
I still like the idea of using someone, me or Ted, and just putting each size on us, like having me wear a small and say this is what a small looks like, and then having a medium all the way to the right size. Yeah. But we put up the Incredibrush, what's it called? The Incredibrush flat cover. So why would someone need that? Have you had a need for that, or is that just something?
No, I mean, you would need it like, maybe a year and a half or 2 into using the thing, you'd replace it. It's a replacement cover for that. I mean, they've always had them at CarPro. I just added it to our store, so we bought up, some of those. So we have that if you need it. I think that's the only thing.
Well, the other things we added were we didn't have the casters for the buckets. I think there are 5 in a package on their own, so that's now its own item. Is just casters only, and then the hardware packs that we include with stainless steel shelving. So now you can buy a hardware pack alone. We had folks asking for those and ordering those.
Yeah, so we got to get the shirts up. We got to get the Limelight C+R up. What else we got to get up? I think that's it.
Sonex.
Oh yeah,
Alcantara
Sonex air cleaner. P&S interior cleaner should be here any day, so we need to get those up. What I'm going to do with interior is, as I get the products here, also Stoner's Invisible Glass is on the way. And so we're going to do those one at a time, and then we'll launch the package once I get everything here. It's difficult to line all this stuff up. It'd be easy if I was buying everything from one place, but I'm buying it from all these different manufacturers to try to make the best platform available to people. It's the stuff that I'm using. I think Angel Wax Vision glass cleaner is going to complement Stoner's. I've been thinking about this a lot. So I don't really want to use Vision all the time, but man, it's great. But there's certain instances where I'd want to use that over Stoner's or vice versa. And so I think in the package I'm going to have both, which kind of goes against my normal MO. But I want people to have what I have. I want the packages to be what I'm actually using.
Has any more thought been given to starting a rental program for the Rupes machine, specifically the Hybrid Nano? It's from Andrew in the chat.
Not at this point, but maybe someday.
It's on the
That
list.
would be something I would roll out in combination with a buyback program. But you're talking about building significant infrastructure. So we'll get there someday. Again, add that to the list. But I do like the idea of having a buyback and rental type platform for the obsessed. And I would almost kind of make it jokingly, if you mess up my crap, I'm going to fly to your house and kick you in the nuts. So have just kind of a an honest but kind of a half joke on our rental program. Like, if you rent my stuff and mess it up, you're done. You're dead to me. And just kind of have that no nonsense approach to set expectations for, if I'm going to send you my stuff, don't frickin' mess it up or you're not getting your money back, douche, and you're blacklisted. If you do that, then then people will, oh shoot, I better take care of this thing. Or some will trash it. Well, then I'll just frickin' keep their money. Good luck getting that out of me.
We got a super chat here. Although it's not a question, it's just good evening from Finland.
Oh, sweet.
From Ate. Sorry if I messed that up. It's 6:30 p.m. there right now in Finland. So good evening.
Nice little dinner conversation.
Yeah. Let's see here. Top Shelf Innovations wants to know, is there anything else like the Hybrid Nano, or is it the only?
No, it's the only one.
Only one.
Till the Chinese douches copy it and steal it. I had a friend ask me the other day, he said, look, Max Shine, which is like the bane of society, Max Shine wants to sponsor me. What do you think? I said, well, I wouldn't frickin' take it. That's ridiculous. I mean, they're garbage. They're frickin' copying Rupes. And, I'm all for competition and improving, but there's not one thing that's an improvement. It's just a blatant theft of intellectual property. And so, his comment, which made a lot of sense, it says, well, Rupes isn't trying to reach the market they're trying to reach. So are they really cannibalizing any of Rupes sales? And I said, that's a good point. But I hate shortcuts, man. It's just not right. And then they're out throwing money around. So how much money are they making? Because they had no research and development cost other than whatever it took to steal it, to scan it and make a janky crappy version of it. They can't even copy it correctly because it would cost too much. So they got to do some crappy version copy. And then they go out and they start, marketing to people. And then what ends up happening is then people say, well, it must be legit. Because most of the people they're marketing to don't know what the real thing is. They probably wouldn't buy the real thing. And so it, it's like no harm, no foul. We just stole your technology. It'd be like if they copied a 911 but made it a janky version of the 911 and then sold it. Do you think Porsche would own them? Yeah. Yeah, the X5, right? So yeah. Yeah, the panels are falling off, and it's all people. There's lead in the in the paint, and all kinds of weird crap. But I don't understand if you're an American, or you're a British citizen, and you've I just don't understand how you can support that stuff. You're supporting theft, you're supporting junk, you're supporting some knockoff version. So what I'm learning is there is a market for innovation in the lower end area. The problem is then once you innovate and once you create and once you have development costs, you end up at $400 anyway. And so these companies I guess they're hiding behind the fact that, well, the only way to do it is to steal it, and so we're going to steal it and we're going to make this garbage. I just have the other thing I have a really hard time with, and on our last podcast conversation, I talked a little bit about my take on atoms, and where I thought they were headed. You know what is really, really cool is I got a call from Derek, the freaking CEO of Atom. So, it's Adam and Derek. They're running the company. Derek, invested in the company, and so he's taken over the CEO role, and Adam is taking over the role that he's passionate about, which is the, telling the Atom story and building the brand. There's been all these rumors about how Atom was squeezed out and all this bull crap, which just isn't true. So anyway, Derek called me, and this guy is, I was so impressed with, he's just a true gentleman. I'm talking trash on his company that he's building, and I wasn't talking. I'm just speaking. We were talking about the pressure washer. The pressure washer comes out, and so I told Derek, I said, look, I'm confused here because I'm like an Atom super fan, an OG Atom super fan, like original gangsta, OG, lover of Atom's products. And I told him, I said, I feel like when you come out with things like the Swirl Killer, which is a knockoff of the Rupes, when you come out with things like the pressure washer, which is some knockoff, relabeled Chinese thing, that I lose you on the message of the company, which is that we make, some of the best chemicals in the world. And they don't mix it up in the Adams plant, but they have a chemist. I believe, I don't know the story behind it, but I believe they own a chemical manufacturer, and they manufacture the stuff in a different facility. And so we had a really candid, really honest discussion about me because I'm a customer first and all of this stuff, and the message of Adams, and so we had a discussion about they're actually they built an advanced weather testing lab, so they're going in deep on coatings and things like that. So we'll see if what they make appeals to me, but we had a really interesting, honest conversation about Chinese products, and a lot of the stuff has to be manufactured in China, but like, for instance, their electric polishers, there's no one to copy, there's no one to relabel, so they're having to go out and make this stuff from scratch. And so we had a really, really great conversation. I was so impressed with he didn't call and start yelling at me. He called and said, hey, let's chat. It was a really great conversation. It was a really great learning experience for me as a business owner, just to see what a seasoned, really intelligent person, how we had a really great conversation. And I came back, it turned me around on the thought process on what they're attempting to do and what they're building. And the other comment I had to him is, well, what about this goofy 57 detail sprays? So I'm confused with the marketing of a brand that I admire so much and obviously support. I put my name on their name, and so we just had a really cool conversation around that. And I just thought it was really neat that I'm also a super fan of Griots, and they don't, I stood there talking to me and Pan, the organizer, standing there talking to Nick Griot, who's our age and doesn't even freaking know who we are. Doesn't know anything about what's going on in detailing. I don't mean that as who am I. It was like, how could you be a leader in the industry and not know what's going on, not know who Pan the organizer is, whether you like him or not? How could you not know that? And so I was really impressed that Derek isn't listening to our podcast. He probably is now, but Derek isn't listening to our podcast. Some of the guys are listening to podcasts. Said, "Oh boy, you better." Said Derek, Matt's. We're losing him. We need to. Hopefully, that's what they're saying. They're not saying you need to get this douchebag in check, but hopefully they're saying, "Look, we're losing him. We're losing a super fan here. Let's get him back." And so I was really impressed that it was like a day later. That we're able to have that discussion, and they were able to see where the industry, what's going on in this world of detailing, which I don't intend. Detailing is just one aspect of what I even care about. I don't want to be classified as a detailer. I don't want to be classified as a detailing only channel. I don't want to be classified as a reviewer. I'm just sharing my interest and passions, and detailing products happen to be one of them, one of the many. I don't know where I was going with all that, but we were talking about Chinese copies and MacShine and bull crap, knockoff junk. Taking a Microfiber Madness product, and then I understand you take a Microfiber Madness thing that you're copying and try to make it better. I get that. But, don't just freaking copy it. Make some crappy version of it. Make it cheaper. Make it better. If you can make it cheaper and better, even that'd be great. What we know is that this just doesn't work that way. So I'm just going to be the voice, and I know I'm going to take a lot of heat for this stuff, but I'm going to be the opposite voice. The voice of reason, the voice of doing what's right. Not just doing what's easy. That's bullcrap.
How has the Ubiquiti network at home been? I've been thinking of upgrading my home network with their products. That's from Finney in the chat.
Bulletproof. So, for those of you who don't know, what I have is, my buddies at Red Ash Technologies came out, and they do like theme park security and stuff, like they do all kinds of crazy stuff. So my buddy Ramel came out just as a favor to me and helped me set up a network at my house. And so we did a couple of network switches, and then did some Ubiquiti access points, Ubiquiti APs. I think I have 3 of them in the house. And then, I was having this issue with the pole barn is like 150 feet away from the house, which is too long for Wi-Fi. And you can't just take a router and then another router and another router. You lose, 50, 60, 70% of the throughput on those is not very good. You can't just extend a wireless network like that. And so what I had to do was install a network switch and then do a beam. So I have a Ubiquiti Nano beam that has a line of sight beam that I think the throughput on it is like 400 megabits per second. So I'm able to send throughput right through, the air, the network information out to my wash bay, and then put another access point. So I have another network switch and an access point where I can get high quality, high speed, a new sort of extension of the Wi-Fi network, rather than just trying to create a mesh network where you just stick a bunch of APs and they jump from one to the other, because you lose, you'd end up with like dial-up speed out there at the wash bay. The other option was, and I actually had Comcast do this, they brought a line out there, but then I'd have to pay for another internet service just for the wash bay to use like once a week. And so I have a whole Ubiquiti network. I have one thing I have learned. So I have gig download speed now. So the issue is that the Meraki that I have, the throughput on that is only 250 megabits per second. So although I have gig speed, my firewall, my Meraki device doesn't allow me to receive that information. So I've actually bypassed the Meraki, so I can, depending on what I'm doing, I'll use either my OG network, which is routed through the Meraki, or I'll just come right off of the crappy Comcast router, which gets me 600 or 700 megabits per second through through the air, through Wi-Fi. If I ever built another house, I'll do everything wired for sure. I'm sure by the time that would ever happen, we won't need that anymore. 5G. Yeah, 5G would be fast enough.
We'll be at 7G by then. Can Matt speak to drying with a corded blower? A corded Works blower claiming 600 CFM is only $50 compared to the Ego blowers.
It's stupid. Why would you want to use a corded? What are we in 1952? Why would you want to use a corded blower? You'll be freaking cheap here. Just buy it's $199. So just buy the Ego, and you don't have to walk around with a cord. What are you gonna do? You're gonna clean your driveway with a freaking power cord? That's ridiculous. I can't believe all these people are making these comments about the freaking stupid corded blower. Again, you're going back to specs. Who gives a crap about specs? I'm talking about functionality here. You have a corded blower, don't you? I bet you have a corded blower. You don't even have a blower.
What do I need a blower for? I have a corded phone still. I walk around my house with a corded phone though.
Yeah, it'd be like, well, a corded phone is a lot cheaper, so why would you want a cordless phone? That's ridiculous. It's the same. That's a great analogy, Chris. I appreciate that. $50. It's $150 more. I get it. You're making $22,000 a year. Buy a freaking corded blower. Probably don't buy a blower at all. Figure out how to get a college degree so you can go get a better job. But my gosh, I don't understand that. It's freaking $200. Now, I want the ultimate setup. I've got 2 5-amp hour batteries. I've got 2 blowers. I've got all these chargers. I get that's not realistic. You know, I'm $2,000 into freaking blowers or whatever, $1,000 into blowers. I get that. But $50 versus $180. And if you care that much, you're probably super frugal anyway, so you'll probably find it for $130 on some stupid sale. Yeah. Yeah, I want to just go delete all those comments about, well, mine gets 600 CFM, but you've got to freaking walk around with a power cord and water. Stupid. It's the whole point. I wish my pressure washer was cordless. I didn't have to have any cables to walk around with. Problem is you got water as a source. So, yeah, you know my thoughts there. No.
There is a cordless pressure washer available, right?
You still gotta get water to
the
it.
Sunjoe.
Oh yeah, we're gonna be. I bought one. We're gonna be testing that out.
We got one of those.
I'm sure it's gonna be fantastic.
Here's a cheerier question for you. Hey Matt, zebra cakes versus Boston cream rolls. Who takes it? That's from Michael in the chat.
Zebra cakes for sure, no doubt.
Couldn't be more wrong about that.
I don't even know what a Boston cream roll is.
It's delicious.
I know what a Boston cream.
It's basically the same in a roll format, like
what?
Like a little bit longer than a Swiss cake roll.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
I've never even heard of that.
Little Debbie makes those strawberry rolls. Have you had those?
Ugh. I don't want any help with my dessert.
It's the same shape and.
Yeah. No.
We'll do a blind taste test next week. Do you have any experience with big boy air blowers? Have you used one of those?
Why? I mean, those things make no sense to me. You got this box. Like, think about it. Like, I was going to buy a vacuum for my house, right? A vacuum cleaner. And, you know, what is it? Miele, whatever. The German one that I bought was a lot of money. That actually works, unlike the other highly marketed ones. What was the other one I had? That I got pitched on whatever. Starts with an E, I think, or something like that. So anyway, the dragging around, like, I know the base unit is better. Like, it's a better unit to like drag it around, and you're smacking it into the walls and stuff like that. But you get more suction where you have the base, you have the hose, and then you have the thing, right? You have the thing you sweep the floor with. So a big boy or a Master Blaster is the same thing. So I've got a power cord I got to plug in, I got to drag out somewhere. Then I got this box that I got to drag out somewhere that's on wheels. And then I've got a hose that I'm dragging around this hose, and I'm managing the hose. And so it's like having a second pressure washer. So now I got to deal with a pressure washer, and then I got to deal with this thing and a freaking hose. And people are like, well, it's filtered. What do you need a freaking filter for? You're blowing air into air. What is a filter going to do? This isn't water. This is air. It's like, you know, blowing air into air. Like, what are you going to filter? You have to filter the air in the room first. Now I get it. Now I'm on board. So I got a filtered air, treated room, and now I'm going to blow it off with my filtered air. So the filter is stupid. I guess heated would be kind of cool if you wanted to warm your hands up. Otherwise, what's the point?
If you're in a cold environment, maybe.
Yeah, so you just turn it on your hands. But why do I want to so I got to go get the extension cord out, and then I got to go get this box out, and there's freaking hoses everywhere, and then I got to unwind the power cords. I'm going to plug them in. I'm dragging the power cord through the water that's all over the ground, and then it gets hung up on my tires, and then the box smacks into the fender of my car. This is what happened with my Master Blaster, kicking the thing, and I wanted a Master Blaster more than anyone. I got sucked into it has filtered air, Chris. It's filtered. I don't know what that does, but it's freaking filtered. That's fantastic. So what's the point? So then the argument is, well, it's more focused. Well, then I've got to dry the car like every square inch instead of just freaking drying it with a darn leaf blower that has 600 CFM that I'm just 500 CFM that I'm just able to locally blow the stuff out. And I can get all the cracks and crevices, maybe not quite as pinpoint accurate. But then I'm dealing with the gosh darn hose. And so where I think it makes a lot of sense for those is that you mount it on the wall, and then you only have to deal with the hose. You don't deal with the power cord. But the filtered air is freaking stupid. So punt that whole argument in the trash. That makes no sense. It does nothing for you. Somebody made a comment, well, it's on the ground. Well, isn't the freaking ground wet? You just washed your car. What, are you going to suck mud up through it and shoot it on your car? The filter does nothing. So that's my take on that. It's just a freaking pain in the rear. And I'm not, this isn't like my opinion, like I'm just trying to justify. I don't even sell Ego blowers. So it would be better if I, cared about the Master Blast, because I could sell that thing. The big boy is just another harder to get version of the Master. It's the same freaking thing. Just buy a Master Blast, you can get it tomorrow. So I don't know. I just think it's freaking stupid. I don't know why everybody gets so excited about that. You get it, and then you force yourself to pretend like you like it because you spent $300 on it. There's just no way. I mean, there's just no way I could like that thing. So anyway, now that is an opinion. But I had one. I had a freaking Master Blaster. It's freaking annoying, even with a 30-foot stupid hose.
Last blower question here, because James is asking about, do you have any experience with Milwaukee cordless blowers, since he's seen some other Milwaukee stuff?
Yeah, it's weak. It's weak in comparison. There's nothing that touches the Ego. Yeah, it's just not as good. And then all the others, so people get hung up on specs. Well, what about the Cobalt? What about the Works? And what about this other garbage? Those are all made by almost all of them are made by the parent company of Ego, and Ego saves that tech for their blowers. Again, I was a rebellion. I didn't want to do this. I was using my gas one. I'm like, there's no way the Electric can touch it. And finally, I dropped my opinion, and I freaking bought one. I'm like, holy crap, this thing's great. Like, we sold my steel at the yard sale. That thing I had for 10 years. It was amazing. And then I don't have to gas anymore. I don't have to, nothing. There was nothing I hated more than going, like, I ran out of gas and I needed to go fill up that little jug. I hated that. I don't know why. I hated that almost as much as dragging out a freaking power cord. There's nothing, I hate dragging out the power cord from my stupid, vacuum. Ugh, I hate that.
So in the chat, hi, HY, wants to know, Greenworks pressure washer okay for a new 1500 PSI? No. Just get a Karcher. We have it on our website. Karcher's away. We tested them.
Yeah, I mean, the Ryobis are decent. Like, if you can't get it or you find something on some crazy sale, I mean, they're good. I'd rather have that over like, so Greenworks or Ryobi over any of the other goofy ones that have all these goofy fittings that you need to get special connections for. So that's an advantage. You can just go pick it up if you get it, get it at some crazy sale or something. That's great for you. Otherwise, I mean, Karcher's the only one. Home Depot doesn't make anything. Neither does Lowe's. So Greenworks is at Lowe's, and Greenworks doesn't make anything. Greenworks is just a brand for Lowe's, basically. So, and you can see the Ryobis and the Greenworks are just private labeled so that Lowe's and Home Depot don't have to compete on price. So they have these backdoor handshake agreements on these product lines. And so you are buying some private labeled knockoff stuff. Whereas at least Karcher, they make a darn, and I didn't expect this, and I still won't like that pressure washer. But it's the best. It's the cream of the crap for $130. And so that was the key to me, is I don't want to pay $300 for some junk. Because that's all they do is they just take the same pump and they change some settings on it, or to put the nozzle difference on it and charge you $100 more. It's the same freaking pump. It's the same guts. And they they change the bezel, and then they say, well, this one is better. Well, it's the same freaking thing. They just change the they don't even change the windings. They just change the tip. Stupid.
They slap a hose reel on there.
Yeah, the hose reel that doesn't even work. You gotta, like, a lot of them, you have to take the hose off the hose reel and then connect it. What's the point of that? Just gives you somewhere to store your hose. That's stupid. And they're so plastic and cheap and junk that there's a good chance I'm gonna rip the handle off that Adams. Like, it's so flimsy. It's garbage.
The hose is like the worst I've ever
We have a question here from Raz on Facebook. When it comes to project cars, one thing I've been struggling with has been that I enjoy the journey more than the destination. What happens when you've been working on a project car for a while, done all the upgrades you want to do? Can you enjoy the car for what it has become, or do you move on to the next?
I move on to the next. Yeah, I mean, other than the GT3, which doesn't have a lot of project in it. So I think you move on to the next until you find that car, that your proverbial GT3, where you can enjoy it as is and not have to mess with it all that much. And so if a car, so if you do all the stuff to it and then because a lot of times you end up making it worse, right? So you end up doing all this work to it, and then you make it less comfortable, and you pretend like it's still great, but it ends up being kind of, there's all these quirks and broken panels that you're kind of hanging on for dear life, and or you have it doesn't run quite right, or you always have this annoying check engine light or something like that. That then once you get to that point, then I think you're done. But when you find that car, for Raz is probably a ZR1 of some sort, then you just enjoy it, and and get another car to ruin.
Let's see here. I want to go to one more Facebook question here from Ray. Matt, during your younger days, when you were making less money, kind of starting out, how did you balance your love for cars while saving money or investing?
Well, I didn't invest or save. I just eventually out-earned my spending and started saving. So the more time that goes on, the more I realize I was a terrible person to be a financial advisor, because I didn't have a passion for that, that misery, if you will, that saving for the future. I live, as much as I love the idea of living in the destination, I really do live for today. And then so I set up some structures and some plans and some things like that, but I would just stretch, and it would make me go and get it done, make it happen. It would make me get on the phone and make that call. It would make me follow up with, what right now what I'm struggling with. I've got 2 garages that I need to design, but I don't want to do it. I want to go work on the spacers out here on the M3 and go put the parts on the M5 and start polishing. But I need to sit down and I need to work on these 2 garages, and I'm just not. I'm not into it. I'm more into something else. And so when you're it's okay if you don't save when you're young, as long as you have an appetite for the chase of knowledge, the chase of bettering yourself, and eventually you'll out-earn it. But you'll always have this, if you're smart, like I always had this feeling in my gut like I was going too far. And so I would never go too far. I'd go right to the edge. I do this today, where I'm like, I probably shouldn't buy this M5. I should be, we have a saving plan. And this month I punted, and I'm sure I'll punt it for 6 out of 12 months. But, I never go too far. What's too far. And so when you're young and you're starting out, you go to what you can go to, and you make sacrifices around your passion, and you focus on what makes you happy, but be careful with making yourself unhappy by making yourself too happy. It's like I made myself too happy by eating too many zebra cakes, and now look at me. Right? So you have to, what's right. Like I could very easily be 300 pounds. I'm only 240. So I'm still alive. I'm not completely unhealthy, but I'm not as perfect as I could be. That's kind of the way that I've always lived my financial life as well. Like I could go and run a 6.5 minute mile right now at 240. It would suck and hurt, and I'd really have to go. But there's I hate to say it, but there's balance there. It's just that I'm always on the unbalanced side of balance.
Well, now as you're older, you're 39, married with 2 kids and growing a business, would you say then that it's still that way, or are you now geared more towards saving and being wise, or in terms of money, or you are still kind of pushing the limits, you think? I think it'd be a lot different if you were 39 and single than...
Yeah, I mean, I just think saving's overrated. You have to save, I mean, for whatever. Because you want to have a lot at some point. You want to be able to back it up if you can't do what you're doing. But this whole idea of why would you want to retire? You only want to retire if you're doing something you hate. So figure out what you don't hate, and then you don't have to retire, and you don't have to worry about having X amount in your 401k. This is so counter, and I haven't figured this all out yet. I'm still, because I went from teaching people this is how you do it, this is how you save. And so you need to find balance. So we max out my 401k and Michelle's 401k. We have a savings plan that I haven't executed on because I keep doing stuff. I keep buying the next product, and so you have to kind of find that balance. I actually am generating a better return by buying the next product and then marketing it than I'm generating a 30% return, 40% return multiple times on that money than I would by saving it. So what if you, instead of saving the money, you went and invested in some certification or something? What's the return on that? And you investing in yourself versus putting it in a stupid, savings account, earning you 2% or less, 1%. So what's that balance? I don't know the answer to that. I think the goal that everyone should, like my goal that I keep, that I'm so inconsistent on, my goal is to just build this massive moat, just have like $7 million in the bank and it doesn't matter. I can just close up shop tomorrow. I don't have that, so I can't, I couldn't do that. But I want it, but I clearly don't want it enough to do it. I haven't done it yet. I could have done it 6 times over. So that's what you're helping me work towards, hopefully. And it wouldn't take long. We were sat down, and it would take about 30 months of strapping it in and slowing down to speed up. But I don't like to slow down. We'll get there, but I'm going to get there in 60 months, not 30 months. But what happens if something melts down between now and then? Then I'm putting myself at risk. And so that's that balance of putting yourself at risk. So you buy an STI when you should have bought a WRX. You bought an exhaust when you should have paid rent. That kind of thing, Yeah. So in my case, there's certain obligations that become just regular habit, like putting $40,000 a year into a 401k. Just habit. It's just part of the process. So I think if you're smart and you have this innate gut thing, you'll get there anyway. I do have quite a bit of money, not as much as I would need to just walk away tomorrow and do nothing. But that's not something I care about. Some people want to be able to walk away and just sit on the couch, and because they're doing something they hate doing. That's very different than what I'm doing. So what are you doing? Are you doing something you hate? And at 22, you kind of have to. Not everybody. Look at Adam LZ. He's doing what he loves. He's making more money than he can count.
It's kind of tough to find that when you're young sometimes.
But you might not have that talent.
Right.
You may not find it. You may not know how to do it. And you may not have the talent. That's the differentiator. You're freaking weird. I'm weird. I just happen to figure out how to not be weird enough. But some people are like really weird. Like they just can't do it. They just don't have it. And so what I think the key to this whole thing is you can't, like Adam isn't following somebody else and doing it because somebody else is doing it. I'm not doing this because somebody else is doing it. I'm doing me. He's doing him. If you do you and that's interesting, then that can be of value. But if it's not, then you got to go find a freaking job. Stop dreaming about being talented. You're either talented or you're not. And if you find yourself modeling it after other people, forget it. I'm modeling after nobody. I don't want to do. I rebel against that, which to my detriment. I should be saying like and subscribe, smash that like button. Get your own term. Don't even freaking say whoever came up with that first is cool. every single other person that smashed the like button is a freaking tool. But yet they're beating me because they just,
People are smashing the like button for him.
stupid.
Let's see. Before we transition to this next question, I just want to make it clear that Matt said that he could run a 6.5 minute mile right now. So
Yeah, absolutely.
that could be content for the next Hex vlog because I'd like to see that.
I ran a 7:30 in the middle of a workout 2 days ago.
6:30 pushing it.
240. Yeah, if all I had to do was a mile, absolutely.
1 mile.
Yeah, 6:30, sure.
All right. Question here.
I'd be falling out, but I could do it.
You'd be taking a very long nap.
You couldn't run a 6:30 mile?
Heck no.
Could you run a 7:30 mile?
That'd be pushing it. I'd go under 8 for sure right now, but not.
It's freaking under 8's jogging.
No. I'm old. Let's see. Plus, I weigh closer to 270 than 240.
Yeah. Well, I'm a little bit more athletic than you
Yeah,
too.
that's just true.
Yeah, and I care more than you do.
That's also
You're
true.
much more laid back.
Tyler wants to know. I guess he's a Hex Plus member here. Who's the next person to join you at lunch to appear in?
Yeah, I got to get moving on that. What I think is probably, I was thinking about that the other day. We're probably better off getting lunch here and closing the door, because then otherwise it's gonna be crappy video. Wherever we go, it just doesn't work. I do like the idea of going off site, but I think doing lunch in here is probably going to be a better way to do it. We can have a better conversation.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And if you missed that video, that's in the membership page. We had a group of older ladies stop by, and they were very.
What's that fussy thing?
They were very interested in what was going on there.
Yeah, what is that thing? You guys are filming yourselves? Film me. That was funny.
All retired from somewhere up north. Super nice ladies. They were fun.
Yeah, so I'd like to do that here this week because I'm traveling. I'm gonna do my my traveling hacks, which I will not share on the YouTube channel because it's very snobbery. Like I hate traveling, and I spent a lot of money on it when I do, and so I'm gonna show the people that get it. I'll probably lose some members because I'm going to show you what I do. I bought a freaking Amex Platinum, and I'm going to the freaking lounge.
Gonna hit the lounge.
And I'm going first class.
You got the thing, what's it called? The TSA pre-check or clear, all that stuff too?
I've got all the above. So anyway, I'm already blowing up my spot now. But I'm going to show you all that stuff, and without any fear of repercussions of people saying I'm making too much. You're making too much money off of people. You're screwing them. So no, I freaking hate traveling. I've got 2 million points because anyway, I'll tell that story in the next week's vlog.
Do you have an update? Someone asked here because you mentioned last week that you no longer have the lady who is working on your food and nutrition. So have things gotten better in that area? So they want a nutrition/fitness update.
Yeah, so I got up to 242 and back down to 237. I'm like a gosh darn yo-yo. It's one thing that's going to kill me is too much yo-yoing. So Michelle has taken over. Michelle has taken over the reins. She seems to have gotten fired up about it. So we have a nutritionist that's managing and monitoring the macros, and Michelle is no longer enabling me. She yelled at me the other day. You remember we were going to do Chris had goaded me into doing another weight loss challenge, and we were going to do like an eating, a gluttony vlog.
Right.
And we're going to have an eating
to kick
contest.
things off with an eating contest.
And so I went home. I'm like, well, shoot, I've got to gain a couple of pounds here because we're going to weigh in. And she said, absolutely, like she stormed out, slammed the door. Absolutely not. And then I went to the gym. So it was a pretty big swing. I was going to order like 2 Domino's deep dish pizzas and then get some ice cream. And then we were going to have a binge sesh here in the afternoon the next day.
Right.
I went to the gym 2 days in a row and ate like some stinky salad.
That's a big swing.
Yeah. So that was probably an 8-pound swing right there. Because I was probably going to weigh in at like 245. And now, I'll probably be 235 tomorrow. So it's on. It's not on. I'm just trying. I'm trying to not be a fat slob. I was editing myself last night. If I don't wear anything but black, I'm like, oh my gosh. The 25-year-old of me would have punched me right in the nuts and say, what is wrong with you? I'm so hungry. That's all I want to do is just eat. Right now, I'm starving.
I feel your pain there. I feel your pain. I went home that night, and I had all the rest of the pizza rolls in the house, which was was a lot. Just in case you didn't chicken out of the bet, because I was ready to weigh a lot, and I was like, "Man, this is so delicious." Then the next day, I was like,
pizza
okay,
rolls
I can't do that.
really aren't all that good,
Oh,
but
they're just so satisfying.
they're kind of good, but they're not like delicious.
Yeah, it's not like eating a whole bag of Oreos, kind of, but still,
Yeah.
it felt nice. Let's see. My WRX channel wants to know, has Matt finally got a microwave for the staff? Yes, we've had it here for a little while now.
I got you a legit one too.
Yeah.
You gotta like rethink all of your microwaving, because the thing, 1 minute will explode a rotisserie chicken. You've got to put it on for like 3.5 seconds. The thing is crazy.
Yeah, whatever you're used to, you take a minute off of that.
Yeah,
it's pretty powerful. Let's see here. Corvette search had a few people asking about an update, and the Corvette nerds in the crowd are asking if you're watching the C8 reveal tonight live.
No, absolutely not. I don't even want to see it. That thing looks stupid. I can already tell it's going to be hideous.
So since we're talking about budgeting and
saving, I've kind of slowed down a little bit, because we met with the accountant yesterday. I'm gonna have to write a really big check, like a really big one. And I'm freaking out about that a little bit. So I'm kind of slowing my roll here a little bit. And we'll see. That'll change in like 2 weeks after I write the check and the cost is sunk. Yeah. I'll be talking more about that on the membership platform as well, about these 2 years of my transition into out of wealth management into this specifically were the 2 dicey years, because of the taxation and the expenses that I had in buying and selling, and my practice and all that stuff. So that's one of those tricky things that I've been nervous about with it. We've just out-earned by a lot. So things that I thought I was going to have to sell assets and sell cars and borrow money to do, I haven't had to do, because the business has been so successful. So I'll probably be talking more about that as we get closer to my contract ending. I'll probably do it mainly on the membership platform, so I don't get sued. But talking more about that transition and what it could be like for you if you side hustled someday, and how it can, how it works out. It's worked out great for me, but it wasn't as easy as it appears.
We have a super chat question here from Chris, and he's referring to the Pacific Northwest Gathering that's next week, the OG Pacific Northwest Gathering. What car, if any, are you driving for next week's trip? I'm interested in going, but I'm not sure what I drive or if I'd ride with someone.
I'm not driving. I'm just gonna ride along. We'll ride with Dave probably. So yeah, I'm not. I may drive some cars. I don't know. We'll see how I'm doing. When I go in that far, I'll get all wound up. So I probably just chill.
Yeah, for those of you who are wondering what we're talking about, the OG Pacific Northwest Gathering is next week up in the Seattle area. So information about that is on the Facebook page at the top. That's a long way to go. You ready for that trip?
Nope.
Seattle?
Nope. But I'll be good.
Aaron asked a good question. Speaking of Seattle here, do you guys drink coffee? If so, what kind of coffee do you drink? This is something that you and I actually, we are exactly the same when it comes to coffee.
No.
Yeah, I've never had a cup of coffee.
Never even tasted it.
Does it count if it's coffee? It tastes like hot chocolate, yes. Coffee. I've had sips of other people's coffee when they like put all the extra stuff in there. But still, it tastes nasty, like coffee to me.
It grosses me out. I don't. Luckily, I don't have that. I'd probably be drinking like a gallon a day if I did drink it. So I don't like, caffeine really affects me, but largely because I don't mess with caffeine. But like I had a Mountain Dew the other day. You guys saw me. I was freaking bouncing off the walls. So I was ready to conquer the world till I crashed and burned and got a headache. thought I was gonna die.
We put the Mountain Dew behind
Just getting
glass here, so
my
you can't
stomach
get to it.
explode. You know, you get sick as a dog. So yeah, I don't mess with that crap. No coffee for me.
Yeah, me either. I don't like the taste of it. The smell's kind of nice sometimes, but
I don't like the smell. I don't like all that goes with it. Nope. I don't like having to carry around a drink everywhere you go. It's freaking stupid.
What is next for the M5? Have you dialed it in yet?
Oh, no. So I'm going to have to wait till I get back. I was planning on doing it this week, but that didn't happen because the truck didn't get back in time. So the truck has some weird battery drain things going on we're trying to figure out. So I just sat at the dealer for a week. I paid $500 and they did nothing. I told them to just freaking put a new alternator in it, but they didn't do it. So I was planning on putting on the exhaust today. I probably will still do that and just stay a little later here today. But I'm on a good streak in the gym. So I'm 3 days in. I actually put in an effort yesterday. You know, like if you don't go for, you kind of off and on, and you go for like 2 days and it's like death. You can't like get through the workout. And then yesterday I'm like, I don't know what happened. I was just boom. We had to do like a 5K, but like in various increments. And I actually put in an effort. Felt good. And so now I'm like fired up to go. And whereas I'll be able to push to whatever I can push to. But yeah, the M5. I mean, I've got a lot of stuff out there, you know. So we're gonna be Project City on it. Exhaust, suspension, intake, tune, cosmetic, steering wheel. I mean, lots and lots of cool stuff.
I got to drive it the other day. That's pretty nice. The brakes are super, super sensitive, but
Yeah.
are you getting Brembos for the M5?
No, it already has Brembo carbon ceramics, so yeah, it doesn't need brakes.
So we got another super chat question here from Tyler. I'm not even going to try to pronounce your last name, Tyler. Sorry. Tyler K., what's the verdict on polishing headlights?
Well, you can't if they're new. Once you polish them, you can't go back. So as soon as you polish them, you're damaging the UV. You know, that's why I tape headlights. So that's why you see a lot of times, like if you don't tape the headlights and you kind of brush up against it, you'll see, a car that's been polished or buffed or whatever you want to call it, and there's like a trail on the edge of the headlights that starts to fail before the rest of the headlight. So as soon as you polish them, you got to sand them. You got to sand off all the clear, and then you have to sand them with like 1500 and follow with 3000, and then polish it, and then either re-clear it or with 2K clear, or just deal with the fact that they're going to re-yellow, and you have to do that same process once every 6 months or so. So you don't want to mess with headlights. You want to avoid touching them at all costs. I always coat them or wax them, but avoid messing with them with any kind of polish until you have to. And I don't even do that. I just buy new ones. I'm fortunate enough to buy a new freaking set of headlights rather than sanding them down because they never look the same.
I like this question here from John in chat. Any suggestions for cars for someone 6'5"?
Any 911's great because there's tons of room. Like a GT350 would be great. CTSV. I don't like any of the Mopar stuff like the Charger, the Challenger, but those have lots of room for big fat Americans. Like a Camry.
05 Camry.
Yeah, Camry. AC blows cold.
Ice cold.
Yeah.
It also depends on what kind of 6'5" you are. If you're 6'5",
400, yeah.
Or if you're 6'5", 180, that's the GT350 is not comfortable if you're 6'7", 260. I can tell you that.
If you got the regular seats, it would be fine.
Right.
Those seats are terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have any kind of musculature, then forget it. I mean, your hips just don't fit. So if you have like even fit, I've got a 34-inch waist. If I was 200 pounds, I'd have a 34-inch waist. So, that they just can't fit between those two bolsters. They're just terrible. An M3 has lots of room. You just have to put the seat all the way back. An M5. There's lots and lots of cars. Most cars, actually. It's just, some of them, like I don't think a Corvette is very good without an aftermarket seat. So some sports cars don't really work as well, but 911s, GT4s have lots of room.
Yeah, Sean, your buddy Sean, he's what, 6'9"?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
What is What
Yep.
does he drive?
Yeah, GT3.
Yeah, if he's 6'9", that's 6'5", no problem. When will Michelle be back on the podcast?
Well, in the membership program, she's in it. So we're telling our story, and so she'll be. Shoot, I should probably record that. I got to record that. Otherwise, we're going to be devoid of. Maybe I'm going to take some gear with me and maybe do a podcast when I'm out in Seattle. I'm going to have to be more cognizant of that. But yeah, she's in there. We're telling her whole story. You'll want to go check that out. It's $60. It's not going to kill you. I think the content will be worth it. But stuff that I don't really feel comfortable sharing elsewhere. Just I don't want to deal with the fallout of that, of people that don't get it. Tell me that I'm beating my wife or some crap like that, or I don't let her talk, or whatever bullcrap story they're making up about how they're better than me.
Let's see. James Clark has some good advice here. Get a truck. You can fit in all of them. 6'6", 340. He's
There
a
you
big
go.
boy. And he's the one who also, he asked last week about the hat, and so he ordered the gray snapback and said it fits just right.
Yeah.
So, you big-headed folks out there, the snapback is the way to
Gosh, I
go.
love that hat.
Yeah, it's a nice hat.
It's like the cheapest, simplest hat of all the hats that I've ever had, and it's amazing. I love it. No wonder people wear those hats.
Yeah, it's definitely by far the most popular 1M entry item so far.
Yeah.
We had a couple of folks ask about, after last week, we kind of closed talking about television, Netflix, what we watch. But I had a question, actually, that I wanted to ask first before we get into that. A couple weeks ago, you were on this thing where you went down this rabbit hole on YouTube watching, like, arm wrestling championships from across the world.
Yeah.
So are you still into that, or do you have a new thing you're following on YouTube that you're into? Or
How do you know that? Looking at
'Cause
history?
I walked in, and you're sitting here, these two guys, you're sitting right here. These two big Russian dudes are arm wrestling each other, and you're like, this is great.
Yeah, I don't know.
You can watch 20-minute videos of guys arm wrestling.
What have I been into lately? I've been watching a lot of Bradley Martin, who's a weightlifter guy. Makes me want to go back to a regular gym to get jacked. But then I realize how boring that is and how much work that is. It's way easier though, because the problem with doing that is then you got to do like stupid cardio on a treadmill. That's the worst. Yeah, so I've been watching the Bros versus and Bradley Martin. I don't know. He's just authentic. He's an authentic dude, and again, you can just tell. You can tell authenticity, and so I want to get in shape so that I can go do some sort of collaboration with him.
There you go. I want to get to this question on Instagram here about from Edmo5177. I've heard you mention a few times you were not able to sell Grio's products. Was there a reason they gave you? I tried to get my retail store in Pennsylvania set up with them, and they turned me down because of another dealer 100 miles away.
Yeah, I can, but I have to buy it through a distributor. I don't want to frickin' buy through a distributor. I am the distributor. I'm bigger than the gosh darn distributor, so I don't want to do that. And so that's what they want to do, and so I'm out. I only wanted a couple of products anyway, so, and then that forced me to find, and then I found some better stuff. So screw them.
So in the end, it kind of all worked out.
Yeah, so you have to, but like you could buy through AutoGeek. You could set up an AutoGeek wholesale account and buy through them, and you get crappy margins, but you can get some margin. Even earlier, I mean the Grio's margins were like the worst out of all of them, which is fine. I mean they want to sell direct, but which is what they probably should do. If I were them, I wouldn't sell to anybody. I'd only sell direct.
Do you have a favorite car movie or TV show about cars?
Probably Ronin. There's a scene. It's an Audi S8, which made me love Audis until I got one and realized it sucks to drive. There was an Audi S8 that chase scene, which is just freaking awesome. That's probably my favorite. Of course, the original Fast and Furious just is nostalgic for me of where I was in life at that time. I hate all the new Fast and Furious movies. I don't even think the last 2 or 3 I've even seen. Like, it'll be on TV and I won't even watch it. Like, they're so bad. It has nothing to do with cars. It's stupid. It could be so great. but it's so like mind-numbingly dumbed down for the dumbest of the dumb that I just I can't do it. And it's supposed to be about, it's supposed to be our car movies, but it's just so ridiculously dumb. The first one, although it was kind of goofy at the time, had some validity to it. Like they had like actual tuner cars and used people's cars and things like that, and didn't outside of them driving underneath the truck, which is kind of stupid. You could see the truck was raised up. Like I don't know why you could just leave that part out. It was that's always kind of my favorite car specific movie.
Wei Wong, that's a funny name. Wants to know, is there any update on Matt's tooth? You got a tooth update for us?
Yeah, second surgery is in August 6th. I have to do another bone graft, and then I'll have another 12 weeks of recovery from that, or healing, and then hopefully if that's good, then they can put the thing in the screw, the whatever I forget what they call the abutment they call it, and then they can actually form the fake tooth and attach it to that thing. So I'm 5 months away. I still have my retainer.
We had someone ask about stopping in by OGHQ. They saw you mentioned it in one of the
Come on by.
recent videos. Yeah, we're here Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 all the time. And then, but always you can just email us and we'll make sure we're going to be around.
I'm a little less predictable on that, but
Right.
I'm usually here, most of the time. But you can't always bank on me being here because I'm running around all over the place.
Yeah, last Friday we had a lot of people who stopped by. Friday is a popular day for folks to stop by.
Yeah.
From all over the world, which is always neat to see.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. It's fantastic. And even if I'm not here, the other people here are much nicer than me anyway, so it works out great for you. Yeah. So come on by anytime.
Chris Donatelli, really been enjoying membership content. We addressed this earlier, but I just want to bring it up again because a few folks ask about it. Could there be a way to add notifications to content like there is for YouTube? So we mentioned that earlier. We can't quite do that yet, but just check it when you can.
Yeah, we're working on it. I mean, you're making it better and better. I mean, we had to build this from scratch.
If you have a feed burner email, you can do a feed burner.
There you go. Bryce says feed burner. Feed burner?
Yeah, it's like some.
Gotcha.
What I didn't want to do is put this on Patreon. I don't want somebody else owning it. I don't want somebody else telling me what to do. I don't want to be. Plus, I didn't want to pay the 11% back to them for doing nothing, other than having the platform that then they're in charge of. So I didn't want to go and build this thing on a platform, even though that platform is way better than my platform. I didn't want to build my house on somebody else's land and then have them come in and tell me the house has to go. And so the disadvantage of doing that is it'll be clunky for a while. And so until I have the viability of, a few thousand people in there to invest in it, I've already invested a lot in it. It's for right now, it's good enough. It's functional enough. And then we'll start to add these little things if you have feedback, like, just simple things like notifications. Then I would like to add an app, and I'd like to add a little bit better messaging where you can comment more, and then maybe create some sort of community around it, and continue to improve it from there.
Hockey Pickles wants to know, would you say that Brake Buster is the new go-to wheel and tire cleaner?
Yes. In transit.
Yeah, we'll be getting that here soon. All right, it's 12:28. You got any final parting thoughts here?
I don't. I'm going to go out and put the spacers on the M3, which is kind of stupid because I got the wheels I'm mounting tomorrow. So wheels and tires will be mounted the Titan 7 TS5s. And we're going to see if it fits because I'm doing 275, 295 size tires. So they say it fits, so we're about to find out. And so I'm doing that. I'm going to do some flybys of the M3 with the new intake and the exhaust, which I don't think is going to sound any different. But I haven't done an actual proper exhaust video with since I took the Eisenman off. And so I'm going to do some flybys on that probably this weekend. Work on the M5 a little bit, and then full M5 series coming when I get back. Probably right when I get back, and probably like I'll probably start it on like I don't know when I get. I think I get back Sunday, so on a Tuesday or something like that. So I'll start it after I catch up, and full correction, protection, modification, lots of M5 content coming, and then we'll decide as the 1M raffle goes. We really need to do, Bryce. We really need to do a commercial of some sort for